Hello, beautiful people. Hello, girlfriends and boyfriends. Happy Wednesday. It is me, your host, Essie Love, for the Micah 6-8 podcast. Welcome to all of my listeners and to my viewers. I'm so thankful you are here. I'm thankful that I am back in this to be able to share everything that I love sharing, which is God is a just God. But before I do that, first, happy late 2025. I know it's March. I know we're ending our first quarter of 2025. But the last time I was here, it was 2024. I was in the same shirt, I just realized, and but a different outfit. So this is clean. Let's be clear. And I had braids, and I have short hair. I had different color hair, and I have different color hair. So happy, different look, but same person. So whatever. But happy like late 2025 to you. I hope that you have had a wonderful incoming to the year, and I hope that all has been well with you guys. What do I want to share? So I'm going to start doing this, but happy birthday. I want to say happy birthday and happy anniversaries to anyone who has a birthday or anniversary in March. I know I haven't done that before, but I love birthdays. I love celebrations. And maybe I have done on some of my other podcasts with you guys. I'm not too sure, but happy birthday to anyone who's had a birthday, who's about to have a birthday. March is super duper crazy busy for us, for my family. A lot of March birthdays. My wedding anniversary is at the end of March, so at the end of this month. So busy, crazy life. But I imagine you guys have busy, crazy lives too. So yes, I wanted to do that. A couple of housekeeping items. And what else? So I think there's nothing else that I really have on my mind. It's quiet in here. I'm so excited. My family's out right now, and I need to really enjoy that moment before they come in with all their requests and all their whatevers. And I know I'll be able to get through this time with you guys before they come in with all their noise. But anyways, so let's talk PSRPT. What is PSRPT? It is perfect, sure, right, pure, and true, right? The last time, all my last videos, if you haven't seen any of them, please go back. I encourage you to listen to those videos because it's building what upright law is, right? Fundamentally speaking, what should laws be? They should be PSRPT. They should be perfect where it converts the soul. They should be sure that it makes wise the simple. They should be right where it rejoices the heart, right? They should be pure where it enlightens the eyes, and they should be true, which they be righteous altogether. So because of that, I'm going to read, because I just went through the elements and kind of like an element explanation. I want to read from Psalm 19, 7a through 9b, skipping over 9a because I want to make sure that it just makes sense. So this very legally poetic verse of scripture, which I absolutely love, it says, "The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes." Skipping down to 9b, "The judgments of the Lord are true. They are righteous altogether." So when we talk laws, we're talking God's laws, obviously. This is what our laws, his laws are, right? This is what, if you look at every law that is every biblical law, the laws are PSRPT. They're perfect, sure, right, pure, and true. Right? And these are codified. They're codified. These are coded in the Bible. So these are the laws. Let's just say the rule itself, right? The law itself, that should be what fashions and shapes our laws in our country. And I won't talk about this today. More than likely, I'll talk about it on the next podcast. But, when our laws were framed, like the framers of the Constitution, when they were in there and they were tussling back and forth about what they wanted, coming from a monarch and trying to come in and have a democracy in a whole nother land, when they were going through the Bill of Rights, when they were going through tussling, their foundation for many of them, and I'll just say this, whether they were Protestants or they were, they were believers, And what they had was the Bible. What many of them did go to was the Bible. Some did disagree. Some were not on the same page, and some were, but they felt differently about how the what the Bible said about certain things. But ultimately, many of the laws that we have today and in our country, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, what happens, that is biblical. So anyway, I say all that to say, laws should be just that. They should be just. They should be righteous. They should be upright. And God has given that to us in Psalm 19. So I wanted to take Psalm 19. I wanted to apply it to the 10 Commandments, which the 10 Commandments is in Exodus 20. So you can go there and read through it. And a lot of the laws are in Exodus. Let me tell you, there's some laws in there. You're like, oh my gosh. So thankful and grateful that we do not have to worry about these particular laws. But let's apply PSRPT, our rule, to the 10 Commandments, okay? And so in reading through the 10 Commandments, you could break it down in 3 words, literally 3 words: love, honor, and respect, okay? In the first 2 tenets, right? In the 10 Commandments, God talks about, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of slavery, right? So we know that the story is the Israelites were brought out of Egypt, out of slavery after 400 years. The Lord brought them out. He delivered them from that. And so the very first tenet of the 10 Commandment, the commandment is, do not worship any other gods except me, because I'm the Lord that has brought you. I brought you out of slavery, right? I'm your God. Love, honor, and respect. Okay. The second, and much of the second is kind of a little lengthy, but not having any other gods before God, right? Not taking the Lord's name in vain. Love, honor, and respect. But when you go down to the 3rd commandment, from 3 all the way down to 10, you have commandments that talk about, the 3rd one is keep the Sabbath holy. That's not for God, that's for us. Keeping the Sabbath holy, making sure that you love, honor, and respect yourself enough that you are able to rest, that you're able to decompress, that you're able to be refreshed, and and to be able to get that TLC. You work your 6 days, but that 7th day you may, or whatever you're doing in 6, but that 7th you have that rest. That was for us to be able to respect and love and honor ourselves. The 4th, honor thy mother and thy father. Love, honor, and respect. The 5th, thou shalt not kill. The 6th, thou shalt not steal. The 7th, and much of the 7th and the 8th, and the rest of them, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's belongings, thy neighbor's possessions, thy neighbor's husband or wife. Love, honor, and respect. So if you break it down, the first 2 commandments truly are loving, honoring, and respecting God. From 3 to 10, it's loving, honoring, and respecting people. So when you put that with PSRPT, right, and we break it down and we kind of go through, okay, the law, the 10 commandments, that's just the 10 commandments solely, is perfect. Why the 10 commandments perfect? Well, let's go through it. And I wrote it down because I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted to make sure that I really shared the pieces that I was able to really read through and understand, and just by the way God has just created his laws and commandments and everything. It's just beautiful. Anyway, so for instance, okay, so perfect. Why are the 10 commandments perfect? It's perfect because each commandment is faultless in that it instructs us to honor, respect, and love God, as well as honor, respect, and love people, right? But when something is perfect, it converts the soul. So it's converting the soul, or it still converts the soul, because when we act on love, honor, and respect, our soul is renewed, right? Our soul is given a refreshing of life and strength. So, think about when people show you honor and respect. When you're honored and respected, think about that. How do you feel? You feel like, man, that just does something to you. And then when you give that back to others, just the look on someone's face, or just the change in someone's demeanor, or just how your being is, to love, honor, and respect someone, that goes without saying. It's like one of the greatest gifts. You know what I mean? So it converts the soul. It changes the soul. It's renewing the soul. So again, 10 commandments is perfect for that. Why are the 10 commandments sure? Because the commandments are firmly established, right? They're infallible. They're trustworthy. They're dependable, and they're positive. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet. Can't get more positive than that. But the 10 commandments, excuse me, love, honor, and respect for God and people illuminates the wisest moral compass, illuminates the wisest moral judgment. Our moral judgment is illuminated when we are showing love, honor, and respect to others. It's firmly established that that moral aptitude that's within us is illuminated. It's enlightened. So, keeping that in mind, it gives the wise greater spiritual knowledge and understanding about God's laws. And that's what we want. That's what we might not think that's what we want, but that's what we actually need, right? We need to have greater we need to be given a greater spiritual understanding and knowledge and understanding about God's laws. That is so important, right? To inform and advise or to give insight. So again, 10 Commandments, it's perfect, converting the soul. It's sure, it's making wise the simple. But it's making our moral judgment wise. It's illuminating that. And so I know it may not seem like that's super important, but it really is when we switch and we start looking at our laws, our federal laws, our state laws, and primarily, particularly what's happening in today's world, the immoral that's taking place, right? The unjust that's taking place. When you have laws that are sure, where it's making wise the simple, where it's illuminating that moral judgment, where it's enlightening that, it makes a difference. The 10 Commandments are right. They're right because they're just, they're honorable and proper, right? Because it teaches us to love, honor, respect God, his laws, and people, right? This directly rejoices the heart because these commandments are equitable and just, and it makes the heart glad because it's a source of happiness to be subjected to just and equal laws. It is such a source of happiness when we are subjected to just and equal laws. You cannot tell me you do not feel a source of joy when there's equality, when there's justice, when we are subjected to that. And I love the word subjected because it's like there isn't anything else. Like we are just we're holden to these equal laws. We are treated the same. We are the same. So they're right because it directly rejoices the heart because the commandments are equitable and just. Those are 10 commandments. Now, again, to make it relative, think about your story, your circumstance, your life, friends, family, foe, whatever. Think about the things that we know of that are unequal and how it makes us feel on the inside, our soul, our hearts. How does it make you feel when you're seeing something that's unjust, when you're seeing inequality? It definitely doesn't rejoice the heart, right? So again, this is why you're firmly establishing these foundational principles so you can understand how it should be applied in your everyday life. 10 Commandments are pure, right? Because they're wholesome. Those are wholesome laws. These laws are clear, they're unadulterated and untainted by immorality. The 10 Commandments enlighten the eyes because it directs us in the way of duty. It gives light to the intellectual, to our mind and soul, and is enlightened by the truth of God. So the 10 Commandments are pure, right? Because these laws are wholesome, because I'm going to say it again, they're clear and unadulterated and untainted by immorality. Okay. It gives light to the intellectual and our mind and our soul and is enlightened by the truth of God. So when you think of honoring thy father and thy mother, who doesn't want to be honored by their children? Although, and to honor your mother and father, right? When you only have one pair of earthly parents, I mean, given, biologically, but thinking about when you're honoring and respecting and loving those people that did, bring you into the world. And for some, the story isn't like that. And truly, I do understand that. But then to have children of your own, whether they're biological or not, but to be honored, to be loved and respected, that's pure. It's wholesome, right? It's untainted, especially when you're forgiven. When you have children who just forgive without thought, to have that love, honor, respect. See, the honor. Hey, I don't really agree, mommy. And then when you then get older, they want to just have their own thoughts. I don't agree. However, I honor what you say, even though I don't like it. I'm still going to honor you by doing what you say. That does something to the inside. It's pure, right? So again, I'm just giving you something relative to understand the 10 commandments and when God created those laws. And it's not just the 10 commandments, it's the law of love, it's law of sowing and reaping, it's all of God's laws, all of them. They are all preserved. But then for the last element, truth. Lastly, the 10 commandments are true. Why? Because the commandments are faithful, they're loyal, they're unwavering, they're trustworthy and dependable. The 10 are righteous altogether because they're perfectly, constantly equitable, just, and holy. Constantly from number 1 down to number 10. So we have the 10 commandments, our bedrock of our laws, where laws were created from. Those 10 are preserved. They're perfect, where they're converting the soul. They're sure, making wise and simple. They're right. They're enlightening the eyes. They're pure. What's pure again? Right? I'm going to say right. Sorry. Right. They're rejoicing the heart. They're pure. They're enlightening the eyes, or they still enlighten the eyes till today. And they're true. They're righteous altogether. So take that information. I'm going to stop right here because I don't want it to go beyond that, but preserved. Our laws should be upright. God's laws are upright. Our federal laws should be upright. Our state and local laws should be upright. Our municipalities, our laws in our schools and in everywhere and anywhere. There's laws everywhere, right? There are unspoken laws. Some laws are written, some laws are not. But when you think of commandments, when you think of laws, when you have rules and regulations, they should be upright. They should be preserved. They should be created and written in such a way that it's going to really bring, if you think about it, love, honor, and respect to God and to humanity, period. So I'm going to end on that note. When I return, we will kind of push and speak to what I said about the conversation about the Bible and the Constitution, and the video that I saw that, it was just kind of like, okay, you're going to have people that disagree and that differ, and then you're going to have scholars that just truly believe that they are right, and they are so adamant about them being so right about how things were and created that you almost have to say to yourself, okay, whatever. So I am going to bring that up a little bit in the next podcast or on the next podcast, but I also then want to kind of keep this conversation going, but then to be able to say, all right, now let's pull in some of our federal laws and let's talk about that. And let's talk about the things that we can actually do today and now, and how we can actually make an impact and advocate for things that are not upright. And we as the people, we have that right because God gave it to us, and we need to take it and run with it and do what we're supposed to do with it. And that is for it to reflect preserved, perfect, sure, right, pure, and true laws. So from my space to yours, I love you.